In today's world of market volatility and uncertainty, your retirement plans need to be front and center. With ever-changing tax laws, healthcare worries, and an unpredictable stock market, don't overlook the vulnerability in your retirement planning. Protecting your family and estate will be difficult with shifting policies in Washington. It's more important than ever to keep an eye on retirement.
Hi, and welcome into Eye on Retirement, the weekly show that keeps you in the know about all things retirement. I'm your host and financial advisor, Rick Everett, along with the full complement of panelists to include founding partner and financial advisor Larry Kloefkorn with Market Advisory Group, our lead CPA with Market Tax Services, Joshua Cicora, Medicare advisor Trey Basa from Market Medicare Advisors, and our lead attorney with the estate planning firm of Eidelman Law Firm, Gerald Eidelman. Thanks for tuning in. We're the weekly resource that helps you stay in the know about all things retirement. And don't forget, you can submit your questions on our website at eyeonretirement.com. We may even use them on the show. We're a full-service retirement firm right here in town, helping to navigate Medicare and healthcare, as well as estate planning and financial advice, all under one roof. Larry, more than a lot of thought went into the formation of Market Advisory Group.
It did. Of course, there were years of experience that we already had, and we learned from that, and it kind of guided us. And when we decided to make a decision that now when we look back at it, we feel it's been reconfirmed 110%. And that is that it's an extension of our fiduciary duty of having a Series 65 license under the Investment Advisor Act of 1940. So the founding partners decided that we as a firm of fiduciaries would make sure that we did what's in the client's best interest. And here's a component that makes that possible, is that you notice on our building it says Market Advisory Group. It doesn't have the name of one of the big box stores, one of the big national chains, or that sort of thing. And you know those names without me saying them. And the reason we decided not to affiliate with one of those names is because we didn't want a hierarchy to come in and be telling us that this month you need to focus on this fund family, this bond fund family, for instance, or this equity. For equities, do this, and we want you to push this amount of this over here, and so forth. We didn't want to be steered in some other way. We wanted to choose something that was definitely best for the client in their situation to make their retirement better, and remaining independent was one of the ways of doing that.
I would think it'd be hard as a financial advisor to work for one of those big box store firms when you have a picture in your own mind of what's best for the client, but yet you've got hierarchy over here saying we really need to be pushing mutual fund A or entity B. Fair enough to say that just because someone may claim to be a financial professional, there's a lot more to it than that.
There is, and that's why it's crucial that our viewers should ask anyone that they're talking to about financial matters, and particularly if they're going to turn over their retirement accounts or their nest egg to have it managed, they need to ask that person, him or her, they need to ask them, what license do you have? It's important to know that. And the reason is because it's investment advisors that is permitted by law to give investment advice and give advice on investments in general. The SEC has a long-standing view of that, and anyone who does that and they don't have an investment advisor license, a Series 65 fiduciary license, they're actually going against SEC regulations. And in fact, on CNBC's website, you can see a statement following. It says this from the SEC: starting June 30, 2020, the SEC will require brokers and brokerage firms to stop using the term advisor in order to enable a retail customer to more easily identify and understand the relationship.
And this is a good time to point out that the people on our panel are experts in their own field. As an example, Joshua Cicora is a certified public accountant, our lead CPA with Market Tax Services. Trey Basa is a trained Medicare professional skilled in helping navigate the ins and outs of finding the best Medicare plan for a prospect or even a current client. And Gerald Eidelman, an accredited attorney with Eidelman Law Firm, whose expertise focuses in the area of estate planning. It's a complete team that we've put together to serve our clients' best interest.
That's right. And, you know, that was another part that we see as an extension of the fiduciary duty, that we have these professionals that we can pull in to any meeting, whether you're a client or you're a prospective client, where we may be in just our first meeting. Had someone a couple of weeks ago that we met with, and the topic came up that I knew I was going to need a tax professional to discuss that matter, because as financial advisor, I'm not supposed to. So I summoned Joshua, and Joshua, our lead CPA, came in and sat down with the people and talked with them. And then a few minutes later, they asked a question that got into the legal estate planning side. So I had Gerald come in and talk with them, and they were stunned. They were stunned that, you know, normally you have to go around to different places in town and you have to translate or try to bring these other professionals up to speed, which there could be a lot lost in that process. And so, you know, they were just really impressed with the fact that here we had them just walk right in. And you know what? Before long, they asked a Medicare question in the same appointment. And they asked a Medicare question, and I said, you know, I told my assistant, I said, let's get one of the, see if Trey's available. Let's see if he's available and he can come in. Well, she sent a message, and Trey was busy, I think, with someone else at that point. And so we went and summoned Corey. So Corey comes in, Corey sat down, and about 2 minutes into it, there's a knock at the door, and it's Trey. So they got two Medicare advisors available to them right then, and again, they were impressed with that.
And important to point out, this was all in an initial consultation.
Yeah.
That there was absolutely no fee assessed to the client for coming in and meeting with us.
Exactly right. I'm glad you brought that point up. That is important to know, is, you know, whenever we meet with someone in initial consultation, they're not charged anything. And generally, they're not charged in subsequent meetings.
The term fiduciary, to put in the most simplest of terms, is that we are bound by a standard to put you, the client's best interest first, regardless of any potential benefit or lack thereof that would come our way. A whole team of fiduciaries looking out for your best interest in retirement planning. What does your team look like? What piece of that holistic approach might you be missing? If you'd like to set up a complimentary, no-obligation consultation, our operators are standing by right now to take your call at 316-252-8707. And be sure and check out our website at ionretirement.com. We'll be right back with more of the show after this.
Out on the water, there is a moment. Perfect synchronization. The team working together in harmony to reach their goal. Now, imagine finding a team of financial professionals to help run your course down the river of retirement. Market Advisory Group is that team. Financial advisors, tax professionals, estate planning attorneys, and Medicare advisors, all in the same boat. If you don't have a team like this in one place, it can become a hassle to relay information between them. When you come to Market Advisory Group, we bring everyone together for you to get you answers in real time, to help make sure you don't miss something that puts your unique plan off course. You shouldn't be the one doing all the work to keep your retirement on pace. You should have a team in the boat with you. Your voice telling them where you're at, where you'd like to end up, and how you want to get there. And at that point, everyone falls into sync, all pulling in the same direction, toward the same purpose. Your retirement's financial security. We are Market Advisory Group, proud sponsor of Shocker Rowing.
Hi, and welcome back into Eye on Retirement. In the prior segment, we talked a little bit about the formation of Market Advisory Group and also us as fiduciaries and what that fiduciary responsibility means to you as a client. Larry, so when you as a financial advisor are fielded a question that maybe it's a little bit outside the scope of your expertise, you have to make the decision to employ other team members into the case you're working. Can you cite an example of this coming into play for you?
Yes, we had a situation where it was a new client, and we had been talking about all of the financial matters that I go over with them, and in terms of the build and the structure of their portfolio and what it's doing for them. Then they asked a question of something that is so related to financial planning, but I can't speak to it, and that had to do with an estate planning matter. And here's the scenario that this husband and wife had presented to me. They just wanted to know that if one of them died and the surviving spouse then remarried, that their nest egg, their retirement funds, all of their savings would be there available for the surviving spouse, but then after she passed away or he passed away, that it would go to their kids, not the second marriage, okay? So that was what they were looking for. They wanted to make sure that the kids would get what was left over after both parents had passed away. And so I knew that, wow, that's way out of my jurisdiction, so to speak. And that's when I called on Gerald.
Gerald, it may seem like an uncommon scenario, but it's really not all that uncommon. I myself, working with a prospective client that's considering remarrying, both of the entities have children. There's concern that, so what happens if one of the spouses dies? How to ensure that that parent's assets pass to his children and don't get absorbed by the marriage. And I'm sure it's something you see more commonly than we do as advisors.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing how many people remarried after, even at older age. We are having more and more blended families come through, even as people in their 70s and 80s. So the idea of remarriage is not a foreign one when you're planning for your future in your first marriage. You are concerned that and rightly so, that if you don't plan properly, the assets that you accumulate during a lifetime of the first marriage can be dissipated in the second marriage, or worse, go to the second spouse. And so what we try to do is a tricky kind of, we got to, walking the rope, I mean, sometimes people bring this up like they did to Larry. Sometimes I bring it up as a concern. Are you concerned about this? Is this something that you should be looking at? What happens if your spouse remarries? And, a lot of people trust their spouse and they are like, well, I'm not too worried about it. But what I tend to tell people is not about trusting your spouse. It's about the nature of life. And to give you an example is that when the spouse passes away during their first marriage, they usually turn to the surviving spouse and everything goes to her or him. Well, if that's the case, then that spouse owns all the assets. And if something happens to the spouse's surviving spouse remarries, now the assets could be considered marital assets in the case of a separation after the second marriage. Or worse, if the spouse doesn't provide and does not arrange their estate plan properly, they could inadvertently leave everything to the second spouse because they would be the natural heir, or at least half of their assets. So many times, the way we work this out is we have it set up, we do need to set up a trust for this kind of work, and we have it set up so that when one of them passes away, the other one can no longer alter or change the trust. We make it irrevocable at the death of the first spouse. And in doing so, if the surviving spouse should marry and the second spouse may be whispering in their ear, oh, you should change this, you should change that, you should they can't do that. The other aspect of that that we do is set up a system where the spouses must have, when the surviving spouse must have a prenuptial agreement if they marry somebody else. If they don't, then they have a limited access to the principal of the trust. So with that combination of limitations, you are ensuring that at least your assets that you accumulated during that first marriage will pass to the children of that first marriage.
Imagine having a whole team going to work for you in planning your retirement and looking out for your assets, not only in life, but in the hereafter, making sure that your best wishes are carried out. Do you have that team working for you? And if you don't, what part of the team might you be missing that's crucial to an effective retirement plan? If you'd like to set up a complimentary no obligation with our team, operators are standing by right now to take your call at 316-252-8707. We'll be back with the final segment of this show right after this.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back into this final segment of Eye on Retirement. Larry Kloefkorn, with over 20 years of helping people navigate retirement planning, I'm sure the bank of questions that you fielded is beyond extensive. But what would be an example of the most recent questions that you're hearing from people that you're meeting with currently?
Okay, so just over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been getting increased questions such as, we're interested in doing a Roth conversion again this year. Okay, maybe a client that we did so last year. When do we need to talk about? When can we do that? And so that's one of the questions.
Joshua Cicora, lead CPA with Market Tax Services. There seems to be a lot of confusion out there, even as I meet with clients, of how a Roth works, how to make a conversion, what's the maximum I can convert annually, and how does a conversion of a Roth differ from a contribution to a Roth? All these questions come up.
And when?
And when?
And when, that's a big deal. And you're right, we've been hearing this question a lot lately as we meet with current clients, with people who are entertaining the idea of becoming a client. When do we do these Roth conversions? What is that? How does that all work? And that's a pretty loaded question. So we'd like to talk about this in the fourth quarter. That's for a couple reasons. And it's all about getting uncertainty out of the equation, right? The more informed we can make a decision, the better and more confident we can be about that decision so that there's no unforeseen consequences or surprises. Never is there a tax surprise that's good news. And so the more detail we can get, the more uncertainty we can get out of that picture, then the better that decision looks. And that uncertainty is both in terms of what someone's income looks like for the year, as well as what tax law is going to look like for this year. Seems to be more and more Congress likes to make little changes in this year's tax law in this year. And sometimes that change, they can actually make it retroactive to the start of the year. So always when we're talking about this, I tell people there's nothing you gain by doing it earlier in the year, and you can gain everything by doing it later, just because that uncertainty's gone. And so when we have these conversations, and when we actually do the tax planning with your guys' clients, then we sit down and we talk about, okay, what does your income look like this year? And not just, well, I think it's about this number or that number, but we actually get down into each individual bit of income, talk about how it gets adjusted. So this way we can get a pretty detailed picture of what their income is going to look like, match that up to their assets, and then kind of walk them through a decision-making process of what that conversion is going to be, what the costs are, what the other things that can be impacted by that, and then walk them through how we deal with those taxes before we get to filing the return. So this way, when the return comes, there's really no surprises. It should be pretty much what we talk about in that planning stage.
I know you jokingly said to one of my clients here in the last week or so, the question was asked, how much can I do a Roth conversion for? And your response was something to the effect of, as high as your pain tolerance is on paying the taxes on the money.
Exactly so. That's the only real limiter there, is how much cost can you bear at any point in time to get those funds out of Uncle Sam's hands, so to speak, so that then those funds are fully yours instead of having a future tax liability tied to it.
Trey Basa, Market Medicare Advisors, enrollment for getting kids back in school was underway a little while ago. Kids are going back to school soon as we speak, and that means open enrollment is right around the corner for Medicare.
Yeah, I'm excited to not sleep for a few months. Open enrollment, October 15th through December 7th, comes around every year, and it is a great time for us to sit down with our clients and review what current plans are coming out on the market and what they have, and run that comparison. See what list of scripts they are on now, and can they save money next year. This is it's an important time to review, because there's going to be little changes here and there. Right? All of the plans are going to have these changes, dollars here, dollars there, so your benefits are going to change from plan to plan. So we do encourage people to come in, talk to us, and have that comparison running right in front of them, live quotes in office.
And when you suggest? When do you suggest they start setting those appointments?
So we're going through certification now. We won't have a full idea of all of the plans that are coming out on the market quite yet, but if you want to try and get on our calendars, October, the last half of October / beginning of November, now's the time to do it because it is filling up fast.
And it runs again October through?
December 7th.
Okay. You know, one of the things that I hear from clients over and over and over again is as they start approaching 65, how they're getting just absolutely bombarded with robocalls about Medicare, mailers that they get. And the important thing to point out about Market Medicare Advisors is we're local folks. You're going to deal with the same person time after time. You're going to take care of the letters. You're going to take care of the phone calls that have to take place, and you're going to make it as painless as possible.
No need to fear the robocalls and emails and flyers and whatnot. Everything is going to be okay if you just come in and have that face-to-face interaction with us.
Thanks a lot, Trey. Having an entire team looking out for your best interest in retirement in all aspects of the retirement planning, not just the financial aspects, but tax planning as well, tax preparation, Medicare advising, and estate planning. They're all key components to an effective retirement plan. And if you'd like to have your plan reviewed or set up a complimentary consultation with our team, we have people standing by to take your call right now at 316-252-8707. That's all the time we have for this episode of Eye on Retirement. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Rick Everett, reminding you that we're here to keep an eye on retirement.
Unless otherwise indicated, all client names have been changed to protect their identities. Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns are not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in the states where it is registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by security regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. Legal services are offered by Eidelman Law Firm. Tax services offered by Market Tax Services. Market Advisory Group does not provide legal or tax advice. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not in any way refer to investment advisory products. Rates and guarantees provided by insurance products and annuities are subject to the financial strength of the issuing insurance company, not guaranteed by any bank or the FDIC. The guest commentators featured in this show are not investment advisor representatives of Foundations and do not provide advisory services. Market Advisory Group does have several investment advisor representatives that can provide such services. This is not endorsed or affiliated with any U.S. government agency, the Social Security Administration, or associated with any federal Medicare program. We do not offer every plan available in your area. Any information we provide is limited to those plans we do offer in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov or 1-800-Medicare to get information on all of your options. All rights reserved.